The City Council is currently having to save over £30 million this year, but next year only has to save £13 million. Is austerity over?
Next year is just the latest year in 7 years of cuts upon cuts upon cuts that the council's had to face. We've always tried to take a longer term view here in Newcastle. We've tried to position the council's budget as a longer term process. So this is the second year of a 3-year budget, where last year we did a big public consultation and made a number of high profile announcements. Not much of the stuff in this year's budget is new. It's stuff that we'd previously planned to do, and that's why it may feel a bit more like business as usual. But that doesn't detract from the fact that 13 million is still a significant amount for us to make as reductions, and 40 job losses is still 40 job losses, in my view, too many for us to be faced with.
People are hurting in the city. It's going to be bad news for those who have got a big council tax rise and a doubling of their garden bin collection charge. What are you doing to help these people?
Next year, in your council tax bill, you'll see a rise in council tax of less than 2% from the City Council, but also something called the Adult Social Care Precept, which is the charge that the government introduced last year to fund adult care services. These are services that used to be funded through government grant, but they've shifted the burden onto local taxpayers. A crisis made in Downing Street being paid for by council taxpayers in your street. We objected to that, but it was the only way that we could cover the growing crisis in care services and make sure that we continue to care for the most vulnerable elderly in our city. We've done our best to keep those rises in council tax to a minimum by looking at every possible efficiency measure we can find in the council, by looking at efficiency measures like reducing the number of buildings we work from, by increasing energy saving measures. But there's no doubt the scale of government cuts that we continue to face and will face to the end of the decade means some continued difficult decisions, both about services that we can no longer continue and about how we pay for those services.
The council will spend over 200 million on services, and yet it's spending 380 million on a capital programme, roads, houses and things like that. Is it not possible to take money from there and prop up public services?
It's really important that we respond to Newcastle's growing population by making sure we have the right support in place, whether that's making sure people can make healthy travel choices by upgrading our cycle lanes, whether that's repairing roads and pavements, whether that's dealing with some of the accident-prone junctions that we have around the city. These are all important things we need to fix in order to deal with a growing population. And that money, that capital programme that we have, often comes from specific bids that we've won from central government or through our local enterprise partnership. It's not money that we could divert into other things. It's money that supports the economy of our city. And while we have some difficult decisions to take about the revenue budget of the council and the day-to-day spend, it's important that we have the right long-term plan in place to grow our economy, to create jobs, and to make sure everybody has a good choice of houses in order to live in. So matching our revenue programme with our capital programme is one of the things that we seek to do to draw together a balanced budget, not just for the council, but one that's overall good for the city.
You've been a vocal supporter of devolution. We're in discussions with government about a devolution deal. Is this going to end the city's financial nightmare?
We're not quite ready to announce a devolution deal with government. But even if we do announce a devolution deal, it won't replace any of the money that we've lost from the council over the last 7 years. It won't make the next few years any easier in terms of council cuts. What it will do is give us a stronger sense of our own destiny as a region, a stronger voice at a national level. And given that councils will be far more reliant on local tax bases like council tax and business rates in the future, it gives us a way of growing those tax bases to help offset some of the cuts that we would otherwise have to make. So devolution isn't the answer to the council's problems, but it's an important step forward in making sure our city has a profile on a national stage.
there could be up to 40 job losses. That's 40 families. What are you doing to help those staff?
Next year we're faced with 40 job losses. That's 40 more than I would like. But what we'll do this year is what we've done every year since we've faced job losses, which is work with our trade unions and the affected members of staff to try to minimise any compulsory redundancies, and where we can help people retrain and be redeployed into other roles. We've got a really good track record of doing this, despite the fact that we've lost nearly 2,500 jobs since the government started making austerity cuts in 2010, and we'll continue that work with our partners so that we minimise the impact on affected staff and their families.
And finally, times are tough, but what is your vision for this city?
Newcastle's a great city. It's got great people and great opportunities for the future. There's no doubt that the decade of austerity that we're living in has forced some very difficult decisions on the City Council, but that hasn't meant that our spirit has been cut. We've still got a really clear plan to make Newcastle a great city to live and work in, to attract investment, to grow jobs, and to make sure that everybody can have a decent home and put down roots in their local community. And that vision for a great city is driving all of the decisions that we take around the capital investment programme that we're about to announce. And it's what's driving our work to put Newcastle on the map through big events like the Rugby World Cup games that we had, the Transplant Games that are coming, and the Great Exhibition of the North, which will be the biggest event in England next year. Newcastle is a city which is going places, and we shouldn't allow the cuts to our public services to affect the spirit and vision that we have of a great place for Newcastle for the future.